Kevin Holland, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, University of Mississippi alum. How you feeling, man?
Doing good, man. Enjoying my time
Yeah.
in Tuscaloosa, Hattiesburg, and now in Virginia.
Yeah, so what's it like in Virginia, man? How's everything up there? You working with local kids or you working with high schoolers? What you doing?
Well, I'm working for a company, Evolution Basketball Training. We work with anybody. Our programs start with first grade, and they go all the way to professional level. So majority kids I work with, my cutoffs at fifth grade, and I go to up. Um, so you know, we have high school kids, we have
Mhm.
high level guys, we have the overseas guys who trained with us before,
And
gone
you
off to
oversee
college.
all those
So,
guys, making sure they getting the
so
right skills, training and everything.
yep. So we got all levels.
I got you. So, growing up in Tuscaloosa, man, what was the basketball scene like there? Like, when did you become? I know you grew up in a family of basketball or sports. So, when did you realize that that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I realized that a long time before I even got to Tuscaloosa. So
Yeah,
I spent some time in some other cities, just moving around with my dad and stuff and the family. And I knew I wanted to play basketball when I played football for 1 year, and we went undefeated, won the championship. But the only thing that bothered me about it was that the end of football
yeah.
cut into the beginning of basketball.
Basketball. Oh man. Yeah,
So it was,
yeah.
and that was in fourth grade, and I just didn't like that. I didn't
Oh
like.
man.
I was ready. Once basketball season was rolling around, I was ready to go ahead and transition over.
Man, so tell me about that. How was playing ball with your how was growing up with your dad being a D1 basketball coach, moving around a lot, probably seeing a lot of practices and everything. What was being the son of a D1 basketball coach like in all those? Tell me what that experience was for you.
I think it's easy. It was easy for me to fall in love with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So with him going to work, coming home, watching basketball games, having me and my brother have a basketball hoop at the house. He allowed us to play whatever sport we wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that the way that I could relate to him, the way I could relate to my brother was playing through basketball. Uh,
Gotcha.
so it was. I always feel like I have an advantage because I always had a coach in the house.
Yeah.
And coach, I never actually played for him. I played for him a couple AU tournaments late, like 16 under, 17 under, but I never just actually got to play for him. So I
Yeah.
always had a coach who was teaching me the plays and everything like that, and learn how to work with team. But then when I go home, I watch the games with my dad, and he's telling me, this is what I should do. Coaches are looking for this. So
Yeah.
it was also it helped game by game, practice
Mm-hmm.
by practice, and it also helped with me trying to figure out what coaches were looking for and help with my recruitment.
How to put yourself in position for that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So what was it like playing ball at the high school level, man? I understand you made top scorer in Alabama during that time, man. How was it being? Was it undersized? I know here in Mississippi, man, you don't have too many 7-footers. You know what I'm saying? Those too many 6'8", 6'9" guys. So how was it playing at your level, man? Playing all 4 years as you used to doing. How was that?
I mean, I would say Alabama basketball is growing.
Yeah.
Uh, at the time where I was playing, it was undersized.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I would say that you know our biggest player may have been 6'5", 6'6",
Yeah.
and what would be normally be a three, bigger school, a higher level.
Was a
Uh,
big.
he's playing, yeah, he's playing the
Yeah.
five. He's
Yeah.
playing the five, but I was lucky to have a high school coach who played junior college ball, and he played at University of Alabama and was from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
So he understood progression and everything. So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah. What you needed to get to that next level.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. He really we were all at an advantage with playing for him because he understood the game. He really took the time to teach the game.
Yeah, and like I said, man, you come from a family full of coaches. Your brother's an administrator, right?
No, he's in coaching too.
He's in coaching also.
He's a
Okay.
division basketball coach.
Yeah. So what did you learn from your pops? And I know you played a lot. How much older is your brother than you?
He is 29.
So I know you played against him a lot coming up. Like, what did you learn from them that you put into your game and that you put into going into playing ball against other competitors? What did you learn from those guys that you can take with yourself?
Well, I felt like, I'm always spending time playing one-on-one against my brother.
Yeah.
Who he was a senior in high school when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So we had a big enough gap to where he was always going to be better.
Yeah.
So me playing against him, I never felt like there was a bad matchup for me at my age level.
Mm-hmm.
He was a point guard. He was fast. He was quick. Really good at handling the ball. And I was more of a wing, which I shoot, and that comes from us playing 2-on-2 against people and me playing 5-on-5 with him. He's bringing the ball up the court and he's telling me get ready to shoot.
Uh-huh.
And then my dad kind of he worked with us based off of how we wanted to play. So he saw that my brother was more ball dominant. He worked more on point guard skills with him.
Mm-hmm.
While I like kind of playing off the ball, everything that I did with him when we worked out was coming off screens, learning how to use screens, a little bit of ball screen action, just because you're a guard, but it was my workouts were built all around shooting.
Gotcha. And coming up into your senior year, what was some of the recruiting? How was the recruiting process for you?
I mean, it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I wasn't at my best until my senior season.
Yeah.
So I had interest. UAB. I had all of the smaller Division I schools in Alabama, UAB, South Alabama, Troy. They were all around, but one thing that they never really offered. So
just interest. Yeah.
My first actual offer was from Florida A&M, FAMU.
Yeah.
So I was on the verge of taking a visit there, and then they had a coaching change, so that pushed me out. But really going into my senior year, I didn't have an offer, and I just continued to play.
Yeah.
Just trusted it was going to happen for me.
Yeah, and I want to hear about that, man. Like a lot of guys, going into their senior year, not having interest, knowing that people interested in you, like they probably thinking about, oh man, maybe ball ain't gonna make it for me. Maybe I got to think about going a JUCO route or doing something like that. How did you continue to keep that mindset? Was it because you had someone like your dad in your ear teaching you that, okay, time, just be patient, it's gonna come? Or was it just a mindset, I'm just gonna play the game, I still got games to play after the season, then I'm gonna worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how was that process for you? Like, was you just I'm just gonna not worry about it right now, or it just came to you along?
Well, I mean, my dad taught me a lot about the recruiting process, and he told me to be patient. Of course, I had all the the junior colleges, Alabama, and the smaller schools in Alabama. They were all reaching out, and he taught me how to keep my options open.
Yep,
so
always.
I know one issue that I've kind of heard over from kids now is they get a small school, starts calling them or something, they just automatically just shut down. And you got to be able to accept that this is who's interested in you right now. Accept it, and if as you get better, your interest will get better.
Like you said, coach changes happen all the time, man. At the end of the season, the coach that was probably interested in you might not even be there. Another coach may come in and love you, and a scholarship offer right there, man. So I think that's a big thing. A lot of kids, basketball and football, a lot of sports understand. You gotta be able to be patient. Like everything's not gonna happen when you want it to happen, but it will happen at the right time for you, depending on what you want to do. So, going into your senior year, you're offered to USM. Tell me about that situation. How did that come about? You get into USM.
Getting to USM. So this was after the season. After season, and I actually played AAU for the Michigan Mustangs because at the time my dad was working for Western Michigan, so I was able to get on the Adidas circuit. So that gave me some more teams that were up north.
Yeah.
Which also kind of, in a way took me away from Troy and South Alabama schools. They didn't really get a chance to actually see me a ton unless it was just high school basketball. So getting to Southern Miss, my dad actually worked for Coach Sadler at UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had that connection. And then, so my two choices, well, I was already scheduled for a visit to Niagara University.
Niagara, okay, yeah.
So I was scheduled to go up there on a Thursday, and my dad came home. He was telling me that Coach Sadler, had heard about me, heard that I could shoot the ball, and he wanted me just to come down. So we drove down on Wednesday, and sat in the room. They know each other, so they talked, and then he talked to me, and my dad stepped out. Me and Coach Sadler, we sat in there and we talked, and we watched film, and he asked me about different shots that do I believe that I can make, and playing on the wing or playing the point. And I was open to anything. So he said, I'm gonna offer you a scholarship, and I know you about to go take another visit, but I want you to play for me. So I took the other visit, and I weighed both my options. Because it was the spring, I didn't want anybody waiting too long.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went ahead, right after the visit, right when I got back to Alabama, and on Sunday, by Monday or Tuesday, I had made my decision. I called Coach Sadler and said, come to Hattiesburg.
Man, and probably one of the best. You feel like that's the best decision you probably made?
best, I wouldn't do anything different.
Yes, sir. So what were some of your goals coming into your freshman year? When you get there in the summertime, preparing for the first practice, what are some of your goals going into that?
Well, my high school coach, Sean Pecklove, he told me to don't give the coaches an opportunity to sit me down. So just basically come in and force them to play me by doing all of the little things, playing defense, paying attention, doing the classwork, doing little things like that always stand out.
Learn more than plays.
Plays and understanding what they're looking for, so that you're putting them in a position that they feel like they have to play you.
Yep.
So when I got to Hattiesburg in June, because I didn't come the first session of the summer because I had just finished high school, just finished graduation, and I wanted a little time. Coming off school. So when I came in, I was the only freshman on the roster, and I was the smallest guy out there. I went not height wise, but as far as like my weight, physically, I was the smallest guy out there. So it was. And
I don't think people really understand that either. Jumping from high school to college, man, especially D1 college, you're gonna have like the physicality, not even just playing size or just height, but being able to get in there and bang, conditioning, like that stuff is real. You have to really be in tip-top shape. You got to be physically be able to move and get yourself around screens, and that stuff can probably take a toll on you. So what you learned about that?
Well, I just learned that it's completely different, just all around. So in my high school, we didn't have a big, weight room. We had a good conditioning program because he put us through, sprints, all kinds of stuff, miles, 2 miles. But as far as the weight room, that was kind of a, either you want to do it or you
Don't. Yeah.
don't.
They gotta be
And
something you push yourself to do on your own time.
I was in there a little bit. I got me and one of my best friends who was the point guard on the team. We lift a little bit, every day in 7th period. But other than that, I never had a real program. So when I got to the funny story, when I got to campus, they take you around and you sign all the papers and everything, you meet everybody.
Yeah.
And then, once they dropped me off in my apartment, my parents left. I was in the room. I was just like, what am I supposed to do now?
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up just going to campus like later the next day. And, the strength coach, Zach Zillner, he asked me, he's like, where are you at for workouts this morning? So nobody told me we had workouts in the morning. So I was just, sitting in my room. I showed up, even though I took time off, I showed up still a week or 2 weeks before my classes started.
Yeah.
So I was really just there. And then he was like, well, you're in the group that's at 9 a.m. So be here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So when I got there, they got 245s on both sides and they're squatting, they're bench pressing. And he had me over there on the side.
Yeah.
Just with the bar. And, I really had to just learn techniques and everything. And that wasn't hard for me to pick up. But I know some people are scared of the weight room just because of how they look compared to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not lifting a lot of weight, then the guy might not even want to be in there, and he'll just mess around. What
was your progression from that point to you finishing up at USM? Take me through the progression. I saw it personally, but I want you to explain that progression. Like, what was the weight, size, and how was you? Because a lot of people don't. You came in at probably 165, 6'1", and when you end up leaving, your body had changed. You able to guard 4s and 5s. To explain that progression and and what did you actually do? I know discipline is a big part of that. So tell me how did you actually commitment is probably a big part of it. So tell me about that progression. I just want to hear from you, that progression from each year.
Well, when I came in, like you said, I was 165 pounds, 6'1". My jersey was big at practice, and I'm watching the film, and I look like the smallest person out there. And they actually just threw me in at the 1, which that wasn't my natural position. So, along with the learning process of trying to play point guard, and then also being undersized, coming off screens, they're trapping, they're doing everything because I'm first of all, I'm the only freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the smallest dude on the team. So, every few days I would come in and I would tell Zach, and I say, I just want to get a little bit extra in. So we do a little bit of bench or a little bit of squat. So just 1 or 2 exercises, like not to just
overdo it, but to just push yourself a little bit more.
Just to give me a little bit, so I'm doing a little bit more than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And you see everybody's routine. The senior on the team at the time was Chip Armlin. Yeah, and he's left-handed. He was a shooter.
Smooth, yeah.
And I see him, he's sticking around after practice and he's shooting, and everybody finds their routine. So then once I started getting more confidence in my strength, then I started focusing more on my ball handling, because I felt like, when I was in high school, I was a shooter.
Yeah, you didn't really have to handle the ball that much.
I didn't really have to handle the ball because everything I did was 1 or 2 dribbles.
Mm-hmm.
3 dribbles max. So now I'm bringing the ball up the court. So I started working on that, which my complete focus and my freshman year was being a better point guard. And, I kind of forgot all about shooting.
Yeah. So so that was part of one of your biggest goals, just becoming a better point guard.
Becoming a point guard, handling the ball. I actually, for the first time in my life, it may sound selfish, but I actually enjoyed getting assists for the first time in my life. And, what drove me from season 1 to season 2 was we had the biggest comeback in Southern Miss history when we played against UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 7 or 8 assists or something like that and 0 turnovers. The very next game at Louisiana Tech, I had like 5 turnovers first half. Finished the game with like 7 turnovers, and that was like, okay, this is where I can be.
Mm-hmm.
This is a reminder of where I'm starting at, and then from that summer on, I just felt like, all right, I got to take better care of the ball, and also I got to get my shot going.
Yeah.
So
So
then
so would you say you had a rough freshman year?
it was, I would say it was rough because I was still learning. Like every freshman that's not a starter at first, they always feel like they're out of rhythm.
Yeah.
So, I started varsity in high school for 4 years straight and played significant minutes, every single year to
Mm-hmm.
now, Coach Al was telling me to come in the game, get the ball moving. Come in the game, get the ball moving. I come in, 4, 5 minutes, sub back out.
Yeah.
Come in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, second half, sub
Getting
back out.
minutes though, getting that experience in.
Yeah.
And a lot
But
of people
then
don't really understand that you played significantly all through high school. You get the USM freshman year and you still play a little bit. You're getting in the game. You played every game that year, right? You play
I
a
sat
little
out the game.
except
Sat
for
out.
one game. And you played after that every year after you redshirt, you played over 100 start over 100 consecutive games. That's something that like that type of mindset, being able to understand, being willing to learn, that helped you a lot. Plus, you know what I'm saying, being able to step in and be able to be a guy that coach trust coming straight in, because I mean, even though you and Doc had that relationship, it's not easy to trust a freshman to come in and play those type of minutes that you need them to just get the ball moving and even trust you after those type of turnovers. So like being able to do that, that's a big thing, man. And knowing that your goal, you knew what your flaws were. You didn't try to keep your game the same because that's how you played your whole life. You know what I'm saying? You was willing to change it up and become a better point guard because that's what you knew you needed to do to be able to get better. And even though junior, senior year, so the next year you had to transition back to playing multiple positions. You still got that skill to where you can handle be on ball when you need it to be. So that's something a lot of kids need to understand, man. You got to be able to be flexible. I say you got to be flexible and you got to be willing to listen and learn. And
So, I
yeah,
mean, after, I started after everything with postseason bans and suspensions and scholarship loss, like right in the middle of my freshman year, that's when I got my first start against Marshall, and I started the last 11 games because we had 7, 8 people on the roster, and I was the only person that was necessarily who he was trying to push to be a point guard.
mm-hmm.
Because one point guard had transferred out in December. The other point guard, had his issue with NCAA and stuff. So now it was just me and then a bunch of wings. I wouldn't even say a bunch, 3 or 4 wings, 2 or 4 post players. So once I started those 11 games gave me all the experience I need because I went from playing anywhere between 20 minutes and 10 minutes or even less on a few games to automatically playing 36, 37 and just playing. And it gave, I think those minutes are, even though we weren't competing for anything at that point,
Yeah.
that's when Doc knew like I can put this guy in there and he can play for me and
Yeah.
he's gonna try to
Those
do everything.
even though you're not playing for anything, those some of the most important minutes of your career probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now I got and within my freshman year, I got to see coming off the bench,
Yeah.
playing limited minutes. I got to see not getting in the game, and then I got to see starting, playing big minutes,
Mm-hmm.
running the team, and then after that, I redshirt my second year. So then my second year, I got a chance to see the game from the side. So I was
Yeah.
just going in practice every single day, and playing against all the new recruits, all the
And working
old,
on your game. Yeah.
working on my game, learning scouting reports because that was one thing that was probably one of the most beneficial by the time I was a senior
Mm-hmm.
because I started just learning plays, and I knew our plays. Now I'm starting to learn everybody else's in the conference plays,
Yeah.
and that was, easy. And trying to imitate somebody else on the other team
Mm-hmm.
is also fun. So if they assign me to be a pass first point guard, when we run the scout team plays in my red shirt, I'm pass first point guard, and I'm out there just trying to get assists, trying to get people
Yeah.
open. Then they put me at the shooting guard, the shooter on the other team, and I just go in practice and I'm just trying to come off screens and shoot. So I'm just trying to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it putting you in position, and then it giving you that like that scouting probably. That's a lot of scouts will be most of the important thing over the whole course of a season. Learning scout team and actually learn about the other team. That's important. So how did that whole probation period? What did you learn about yourself, and how did that affect you? Do you think it affected you now? 'Cause it probably didn't, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, not having scholarships, you know what I'm saying? Having players suspended and gone, you know what I'm saying? What did you learn about yourself during that time? Because you ain't even had the chance to transfer. I'm pretty sure you did, but you chose to stick it out. So what did you learn about yourself?
I chose to stick it out, and I feel like things aren't going well. Like you got to do something about it. Like you don't just get up and
Yeah.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes there's an easy way. Sometimes there's smart decisions. Like I respect everybody that transfers and they go on and do other things. Like they're
Yep.
making the best decision for them. I felt like the best decision for me based off of the season that I had my freshman year,
Yeah.
the minutes that I started playing,
Mm-hmm.
and going into my redshirt year, the confidence that all the coaches were kind of feeding me and stuff that they were doing on scout team. Even though I'm not playing a game, I could see that the coaches trusted me.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't in any game my second year. And then also, you know, I was able to be a part of like the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm.
So I hosted a lot of guys who were on the team with me by my senior year, like Cortez Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to talk about Cortez in any kind of negative way, but I remember so I feel like I struggled with turnovers my freshman year.
Uh-huh.
My second year, we went to Memphis the first game of the season
Mm-hmm.
or early in the season, and Cortez subbed off the bench, had like two quick turnovers,
Yeah.
and he was a freshman, and I immediately was like, oh well, I kind of feel better about myself. Like
Yeah. It's other freshmen come do the same thing. Yeah.
this happens to everybody. It's not just
Uh-huh.
me. So then after I saw that, then I tried to help Cortez,
Yeah.
and Cortez, same thing for him from his first year to his
Oh
last year.
yeah.
It
Man,
was huge.
I gotta get Cortez on it, but you know what I'm saying. I gotta get Cortez. Cortez, another guy that I admire, man. You and Cortez, I admire both of y'all for how y'all stick it out, how y'all played, and not just playing, but man, a lot of what I drew a lot of inspiration from how y'all development, like see y'all to get better year after year after year. You know what I'm saying? Do things that people might have said, oh man, maybe Kev ain't no point guard. Maybe Kev just don't need to do that. See you be able to do that and be versatile and still be able to get great minutes. You know what I'm saying? Well, maybe Tez ain't no scorer. Maybe Tez become that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that a lot of players don't understand. Development, patience, all the same thing. You gotta be patient, but you can't just be patient sitting there like, okay, my time gonna come. You gotta put that work in. So we gonna,
Mhm.
yeah, man. We gonna, I gotta get with Tez and we gonna have to talk that out because that he's another guy. You know what I'm saying? So some of the valuable lessons that you learned from that probationary period, man. What are they? From your freshman year all the way up to the end of which was your last year. That was the last year of it.
I mean, the biggest thing I learned was just being patient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you start just playing, you start doing everything smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way you work out, the type of shots you work on in your free time. Uh, you start figuring out
Yeah.
where you're getting your shots at in your own offense.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman
Not
year,
not down in a team that you was on, but it's like you know that you were undermined every game almost during the probationary period because people like, okay, they ain't got no scholarship players. They look at you a certain type of way. But you got to learn from your way not to only work for yourself, but to try to give your teammates that push that we can be better than what people think we are. And I think that showed. That showed a lot during your time there, and that's why you were one of the best leaders that we had during those times at USM. And so, how did you manage to adapt? You know what I'm saying? Now, the adaptation coming from high school, coming to USM, being able to play. I understand your minutes and everything. That was a little bit of experience and help you be comfortable. But being able to say yes, coach, like I'll do that. Yes, coach, I will guard him. Yes, coach, I'll play this position. Yes, coach, I'll do that. How is that? Because a lot of players ain't got that type of character or, mindset to where I'll do whatever. I just want to play. I just want to win. How was that for you? Was that part of your mindset all your life? Or did you just grow that because of the patience that you had at USM? Like, how did that come about?
That just grew from my first and second year.
Yeah.
Because everybody is funny. Like everybody goes from being a high school superstar to going to college to saying, all right, I'm a pro. Like everybody that's Division I athlete is a pro.
Mm-hmm.
Once I realized like, okay, there's things that I have to do, there's things that are harder to do, things that I can't do, because you realize all those things through your first year.
And that's important.
What you can and can't do. And then, I was trying to be the best point guard I could at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I went off with a good note. Like my last, I think it was my last game that I started at point guard was my best game at point guard. It was double-digit scoring. It was like 6 or 7 assists, and it was probably like no turnovers and a few rebounds in there. So it was like I left off with a good note with that. Cortez comes in at the point, slide to the 2. All right, now I gotta figure out, how to play the 2 again, which should be natural to me.
So you ain't had no complaints saying, "Oh man, I just came off playing great at the point. You're not gonna keep me here."
No, it wasn't any complaints like that. It was just, wherever he needs me, I'm gonna play.
Yeah.
And how can you argue with starting?
I feel that.
Because my redshirt sophomore season, I came off the redshirt year and started at the point.
Mm-hmm.
Tez came in off the bench, started at the point. I moved to the 2. Corey Price came back off injury.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the 1, Tez at the 2, I'm at the 3.
Yeah.
And Keith's at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like every single year. Then we got Tyree.
Yeah.
Tyree's at the point.
So understanding the roles that you had to play every time, understanding roles is important. Understanding roles, because a lot of people don't care about roles. They just want to get theirs. They know what they good at. I don't want to hear about no roles. I know what my role is. You can't tell me what I'm good at, coach. So I'm, that's a big thing. Other players, when they see is they can take away from that. You got to understand your role. You got to understand a coach. If you chose that coach, you should trust that coach. You know what I'm saying? Don't go to a coach you don't think that won't know how to develop your game. You know what I'm saying? If that's how you feel. You chose that coach. So that's a big thing for and being able to start over 109 games consecutively over a period of time of your collegiate career. You know what I'm saying? You had a fantastic career, man. Top 10 3-point shooting at USM. How did that help you to transition and to shift into your current role as a manager and skill training leader?
It was the job process is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in all sports. So, initially when I came out and I moved to Charlotte back with my parents after college,
mm-hmm.
I left Southern Miss with my bachelor's and my master's because I ended up redshirting. So it was a decision where I felt like I wanted to be a coach. My dad was a coach. My
mm-hmm.
brother was coaching. I just really felt like coaching was for me. So no, I'm looking at jobs, but I don't have any coaching experience. And the coaching experience that everybody kind of looks for is a graduate assistant position.
Yep, grad assistant. Yep.
And I got to the point, like I left with my master's
Mm-hmm.
after the plan. I don't want to go back to school again. Like I'm ready to just step in. And then Coach Croft, uh, he was a huge mentor for me as far as what to look for,
Yep.
because he told me when you get in whatever level you get in with, sometimes you can get stuck in that level. So, there's always these small schools that you can
Yep.
step on board with and do different things, but small schools are going to play small schools
Mm-hmm.
every single year.
Yep.
Every single year.
You want to
So
be at the big level.
the people that you get to know are all on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that I wanted to be a Division 1 level. I knew I wanted to be a Division 1 level, but it
Yep.
just wasn't happening for me. So my job search was strictly basketball.
Yep.
And then I actually started doing skills training part-time in Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
with a guy named Randall Clark. So I did part-time with him, and that gave me the opportunity to like see different athletes. And he was training overseas veterans and older guys that were from the Charlotte area. Charlotte's so much bigger than Tuscaloosa and
Oh, yeah.
Hattiesburg. And I'm seeing all these different levels, from his youngest kids, the sixth and seventh grade girls, to guys who have been overseas, who played at Florida State, who making big money overseas. And then I was just able to find a love for helping the progression, because I knew what I did to get to where I was.
Yeah.
And that was
Perfect.
spending time
Yep.
getting shots up. And I have mentally my drills, my workouts almost looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it just became something that was consistency. So I knew that, if I can put these kids through certain workouts, that's going to help their skill. I enjoy seeing that progression. And then I like going to their games. So my job search then started getting into strictly just basketball training.
Yeah.
And then I saw this job pop up, Evolution Basketball, and it was 6 hours away from Charlotte, so it was in driving distance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a driver,
Yep.
and then it was promoted as near DC. All right,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty cool right there. Like I get to a even bigger city than what I'm used to living in, because living in Charlotte, I was really just with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Just anybody. So, moving on, and that was an easy transition, because I had moved from California to Georgia to Texas to Alabama.
So you
to
weren't
Hattiesburg.
afraid of no new experience, man.
So a new experience didn't
Yeah.
mean anything to me. Like going somewhere and not knowing anybody was the least of my concern.
Mm-hmm.
My one concern was I'm being around basketball, and this job gave the opportunity to stay on the court.
Mm-hmm. You still be able to develop players, man. Like, well, that's one thing you said, you caught that love, but so how do you think you were setting yourself up throughout your whole collegiate career to become a coach? Was it ever a doubt in your mind that you, well, not a doubt, but was it ever something in your mind, okay, I want to play after collegiate. I want to play professionally? Because a lot of people do, you know what I'm saying? But if that wasn't a goal of yours, when did you realize that I want to be a coach? I don't want to play professionally, but I'm going to set myself up to where I learn as much as I can to get myself into this field.
I think it was like my redshirt junior year when I said, all right, I could probably go into coaching, because that was technically my fourth year in college, and I just saw the game differently.
Yeah.
Like I would start watching games before we watched film with with the team.
Yeah.
And I was able to just see, like, okay, this is what they're doing. And then we go into film and the coaches were saying the same thing. All right, guys, this is what they're doing. And even, all the road trips, every single road trip we took on that, when we played the conference Thursday and Saturday games,
Sir.
when we played on Saturday, there's nothing but basketball on.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Tez would sit in the room and just watch the game after game after game and just flipping through. And us two are sitting there saying, this is what he should have did. We don't know what their coach is asking for or what they call their plays. Yeah. You start realizing everybody run the same type things.
Yep.
And once the game, I feel like, hits you in that point,
yep,
then you can transition into coaching from playing.
And I didn't realize that until I got on with the staff and working with you guys. Like, I always had a basketball mind, but once you get into watching the same plays, you know, I started learning the plays myself. I'm like, oh damn, I'm watching ESPN. It's like, oh, they running the same. That's the same play. So it's like once you start getting that, it's like, oh, maybe you can see yourself doing it. And playing is just a secondary. Maybe you just want to go into coaching. And man, you always was a leader. Everybody saw you as a leader, so it was no surprise that I could see you coaching. But finding your passion and skill development also, you know, that you will still be able to transition that over, because you, as coach, you got to be able to develop your player. You're not always going to get the best players. You got to still be able to develop some. So, man, hearing that is also great to hear. So, you're a manager and lead trainer of Evolution Basketball. What are some of the things that you see in the youth today that you are addressing more and more that you feel like they have to understand more of? Maybe it's a particular move that you feel like they're doing. Maybe it's a discipline area. Maybe it's kids not being able to control themselves or understand or listen. Like, what is something that you see every day that you are saying to yourself, this needs to change, or I wish kids were more that was doing more of this?
The very first thing that I learned was that things that come natural to me, I feel like come natural to me as a basketball player, don't come natural to everyone. And you're trying to teach people basketball, but you're also trying to teach them how to move like a basketball player.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest part, because, you know, I feel like everybody knows what a football player moves like. When a football player steps on the basketball court, it's the same thing. Sometimes a kid is just not a basketball player yet, and they're trying to get him to that point. And then once it clicks for him, that's when you find satisfaction in it. But I think that the one thing that I would like all kids to do more of is just watch good basketball. So, you know, they watch highlights.
Yeah.
Everybody watches
Nobody
highlights.
sit down and watch full games no more, man. Oh, bro. They got to be able to understand different games. Not just watch every game. Because a lot of teams that you see play, you'll be able to mimic one of those guys because you're going to be in that position. Backdoor cuts. You know what I'm saying? Being able to pass the ball, make certain passes. Being able to see the floor a certain way. So, yeah, man, that's another big thing. I'm glad you addressed that. So what are some of your main objectives as a trainer and manager?
As a trainer, one of my biggest objectives is trying to build a relationship. So, you know, there's kids that are in and out. And then there's kids who you're going to see every single season, because we break our year into 5 seasons, and we run our programs that way. So there's kids that come every single season. So the hardest part I think about skills training is trying to teach somebody something who they don't really know you, they don't necessarily trust you either. Yeah. So once you start talking to the kids or talking to the players and figuring out, you know, what they're doing or going to their games, and once you build that relationship and once they like you, you can almost get them to do anything. Like there's, you know, once a kid likes me, if there's a kid that likes me who never watched basketball before, I can tell them like, hey, make sure you go watch the Georgetown game that come on tonight. I'll look at it. And then even, you know, just off of my resume, like on the website and everything, kids are coming to me and they're saying, we saw Southern Miss on TV last night, and they were playing at the Battle for Atlantis.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like that's where I played at.
Yep.
And now they're watching the game
Yep.
because they have a connection to
it. Connection. Yep. It's connection. And they'll understand that, man. So what is some advice you can give up and coming athletes, not just basketball players, football players that, you know what I'm saying, want to get better and want to get to the next level, whether it be D3, D2, D1, NAIA, whatever. What is some advice you can give to them for them to be able to get to that position?
Just put the work in. Mm-hmm. Put the work in, stay consistent, and understand that you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days. Yep. You're gonna have a series of average days, but you got to figure out how to minimize the bad days and the average days and push yourself to be great, to be better. So there's always a kid that's going to be better than you at some point. So if you're in 8th grade, whether you're playing basketball, football, baseball, mm-hmm. if you're not better than the kid in 8th grade, you can be better than them
by the next year. By the next summer.
Next summer, next year. But it doesn't matter. It's a process, because somebody somewhere is going to get lazy. Mm-hmm. And at that point, if you stay consistent and keep working on your game and perfecting your craft, then you're going to take yourself somewhere.
Yep.
But at the same time, while I'm talking about other people, you also can't worry about those.
You gotta continue to work.
You have to focus on yourself, figure out what you need to do. Now, if you look to other people to figure out, what they're doing, it should be very constructive.
It should be motivational, like, you know what I'm saying? Or looking at instruction to be like, okay, maybe I need to do this a little bit better or more, and not try to mimic nobody else's game. You know what I'm saying? Because you have your own game. Just try to get better at what you're good at. And a lot of guys can take a lot from that. They can take a lot from everything. I mean, it don't matter where you start. I think that's like the story of you and Tiz and a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter where you start. It's about where you finish and your development along the way, and knowing that you have to continue to work. Thank you, Kel. Appreciate you for coming in, man. And I wish you all the best of luck and whatever else you're doing, man. We'll stay in touch. Appreciate you, my guy.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Take care.